Let's set the scene. The year is 2014. I'm with my Nana at Kmart. She had a tradition with us. Each time we went to go visit her, she would take us out to the store and let us pick out something that we liked. This particular time, I saw a game on the shelf that looked really awesome, and I wanted it. So I picked it up and I asked her if I could get it. She said yes. As we rode back to her apartment, I just remember inspecting the box of the game I chose, reading it top to bottom, front to back. Man, I was excited to play this new game. But little did I know that this game would change me and leave a huge impact on me forever. See, everyone has that memory of a loved one getting them something that they hold dearly to their heart. For me, that was Lego Batman, the video game. I still remember opening the case for the first time, carefully taking the disc out, putting it in the tray, and booting it up for the first time. Just waiting in anticipation. And then, I watched this opening scene for the very first time. Holy cow, that got me excited. Literally on the edge of my seat. What could come next? What else is there in store? Then, I reached the main menu. That score has a special place in my memory that I'll cherish forever. The perfection, the awe, the excitement, the raw emotion just from that menu alone still gives me a rush of nostalgia. It even gives me goosebumps whenever I boot up the game to this very day. All that combined with this being given to me by my grandmother, who very recently passed away, holds a special meaning to me more than just the love for the game and the experience that it brought and continues to bring to me itself, but the love for my grandmother and as a tribute to her. I'm proud of you, Nana, and you fought to the very end. I thank you for everything you did for me in my life, and I thank you for being the one who got me into Lego Batman, and in Batman in general. This one is dedicated to you. I miss you, and I love you. Now, what is Lego Batman the video game? Lego Batman the video game is an action-adventure video game released on September 23rd, 2008 in North America, October 10th, 2008 in Europe, and October 15th, 2008 in Australasia. The game was developed by Traveler's Tales / TT Games and published by Warner Bros. Interactive Entertainment. It was released on the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 2, PlayStation Portable, the Wii, the Nintendo DS. This version is completely its own game. It's very good. I would recommend checking it out, but I felt I had to stress and point out that is not a port in any sort of way of the flagship version that I am talking about today. And it was also released on Windows and Mac OS X PCs. The game itself is based off of the original 2006 to 2008 Lego Batman theme, as the designs of the characters and vehicles are ripped straight from that. The game is structured to that of the traditional classic Lego games. That means the buildables, studs, and the classic Lego comedy galore. I'll expand on the comedy again later as it ties into one of the main aspects of these classic Lego games. It's also important to mention that due to the success of this game, it ended up getting its own series. That so far being Lego Batman 2 DC Superheroes, released June 19th, 2012, Lego Batman 3, released November 11th, 2014, and its own spin-off, Lego DC Supervillains, released October 16th, 2018. Along with this version of Batman being a main character of Lego Dimensions, and even at one point in the campaign, traveling to the Lego Movie universe and meeting their Lego Batman, which honestly is hilarious and pretty cool. Since that's all out of the way, now a basic overview of the game's plot, as this is essential to understanding the game as a whole. The campaign opens with a cutscene of all the villains still in Arkham Asylum, waiting for the clock to strike 3 AM. When it does, bombs go off all over Arkham Asylum, breaking them free. Of course, they all immediately escape, causing trouble in Gotham. This of course gets attention from law enforcement. Commissioner Gordon hits the bat signal button, and bam, our dynamic duo is on the way. Then all the villains separate into different groups. Group number 1 being ran by the Riddler, working aside that of Clayface, Mr. Freeze, Poison Ivy, and Two-Face, which are who you tackle in Chapter 1. The second group is ran by the Penguin, who works with Catwoman, Killer Croc, Bane, and Man-Bat, who of which you all tackle in Chapter 2, aside from Bane, which will be explained later. And Group 3 is ran by none other than the Clown Prince of Crime himself, the Joker, who's working with Mad Hatter, Harley Quinn, Scarecrow, and Killer Moth. And once again, you end up defeating every single one of them in the end. The Riddler's plan was to rob the Gotham City gold reserves, with each other supervillain contributing to help do that. And that concludes Chapter 1. Chapter 2 is about the Penguin and his group. They all meet underwater in a submarine, where he then presents to them his robot penguin minions, and tells them his plan to take over Gotham City with them. But in order to do this, he needs a certain giant satellite dish and the famous Gotham Diamond in order for them to be powered. The villains start placing boxes of these minions all around the city. After that, Bane and the Penguin begin to leave for the docks. This is where they end up stealing the satellite dish and place it on top of the Penguin's giant submarine. Penguin, being Penguin, abandons Bane, who is surrounded by the police, in order to save himself. Somewhat understandably, this makes Bane very angry, who then proceeds to throw a police car in the air to scare off the police, but it ends up landing on himself, knocking himself out, which leads to him getting arrested. And that's why Bane isn't included in any of the hero missions in Chapter 2. After a bunch of shenanigans, he ends up getting the Gotham City Diamond from Catwoman. They eventually start the machine, and the robot penguin minions start going crazy all over Gotham. Of course, Batman and Robin eventually show up and put an end to that machine and put them in Arkham. And that's the end of Chapter 2. Finally, Chapter 3, The Joker's Return. The Joker's plan was to spread deadly laughing gas all over Gotham City by blowing up the Gotham Cathedral. After his first successful test run at the Gotham City Police, he sends Mad Hatter to Ace Chemicals to get more toxins, while him and Harley Quinn trap Commissioner Gordon. The dynamic duo, of course, come out on top, defeating Mad Hatter. The Joker ends up sending a video message to Batman through the Batcomputer, essentially telling him what they're gonna do to Gordon if Batman doesn't arrive to save him. Now they're on their way to apprehend Joker and Harley Quinn, and of course save Commissioner Gordon. They then reach Amusement Mile. Batman and Robin obviously defeat Harley Quinn and end up saving Commissioner Gordon, but the Joker makes a getaway in his helicopter. Then when Batman and Robin go to catch Joker, Scarecrow comes up to them with his biplane and starts causing trouble. Once he's taken down, he ends up crashing into the Joker, which makes them land into the art gallery window. Once they finally make it out of there, Scarecrow gets caught, Joker escapes scot-free using laughing gas. He then meets up with Killer Moth to go help Harley Quinn. After a bunch of shenanigans with them, they flee, Batman finally arrives and ends up getting Killer Moth. After that, Batman and Robin head up to the cathedral to finally deal with the Joker and Harley Quinn. After a huge battle at the top of the tower, the two of them are finally thrown in Arkham Asylum, along with every other supervillain that night, and at the end, justice is finally served, to the thanks of Batman and Robin. Sometime later, Batman and Robin are scaling the side of Arkham Asylum to reach the top. The Joker catches a glimpse. He's not so happy with them. Once reaching the top, they have a minute of peace, knowing they did good for their city. And just like that, the bat signals up in the sky once again, meaning there's more crime for them to fight. They both immediately spring into action, with Batman zooming straight into the screen. And that's a brief overview of the story of LEGO Batman the video game. Just like my last video project I made, I have a list of questions I must answer. What is the game's base mechanics, and how do you achieve victory from them? LEGO Batman has built-on mechanics that are in previous LEGO games, along with ones that have never been seen before up until this point. First, we'll start off with existing ones, such as studs, the game's currency. You can get these by breaking breakable objects, completing buildables, picking them up all over the place, and in many other ways. Each level has a stud meter. You can fill it up by getting enough studs in that level. Once filled up, you get true hero or villain depending on what side you're playing on. Since there are 15 levels per hero and per villain side, the incentive to getting true hero or true villain on every level unlocks 2 bonus levels which you can traverse Arkham Asylum, along with Wayne Manor for the heroes respectively. Studs can also be used to purchase things, like red bricks, which are essentially game enhancements, ability upgrades, which is new to this game, characters, vehicles, and new to this game, data. Buying these gives details about the Bat family, Batman himself, and Batman's rogues gallery. I remember loving these as a kid, especially being a newcomer Batman fan. Next up is the new abilities. For example, the new Batarang throw system, or the completely redone grapple system. Yes, this was featured in LEGO Indiana Jones and LEGO Star Wars. In that game, when you hit B or circle on the plate, you would just fly up immediately. Where in LEGO Batman, you feel like you're really going up and down. And if you want to, you even have control to go up or down. Health. In most LEGO games, you have hearts. In this game in particular, each heart has 2 points, meaning you can be damaged 2 times before a heart goes away. Movement. Obviously, there's the normal controls such as walking, jumping, attacking. Some characters have double jump, some characters have jump and then a roll, some characters don't have a double jump at all. Other than the new grapple system, there's the new tightrope system, which are used to traverse big gaps, along with the new gliding movement from the glide suit in characters like Man-Bat. Yes, gliding technically existed in LEGO Star Wars through the form of R2-D2 or Jango Fett, but the reason why that's not considered gliding is because 1, your altitude doesn't change, as when you're gliding, you go downwards, or when flying/hovering, you go in one straight line and your height doesn't change at all, other than when you stop flying. And 2, in LEGO Batman, you can glide for as long as you want until you touch the ground, where in LEGO Star Wars, flying is only for around a few seconds, then you fall. Don't forget to mention also the wall jumps that certain characters have, such as Robin and Clayface for some reason, along with the wall sneak, which is only seen in this LEGO game and none after, so very interesting to see that. Combat. The main combat mechanics have been slightly tweaked for LEGO Batman. As in LEGO Star Wars and LEGO Indiana Jones, you had a combo of 3 attacks, and then your character would stop attacking until you clicked it again. Whereas in LEGO Batman, all the primary attacks link together, and there's no pause between attacks. The only character that has this is potentially the Joker, but it doesn't pause. Most likely this is intentional, but it could also be that the Joker's character is one of the first to be animated when the game was being developed, and the tweaks to the combat system weren't made yet. I may be looking too much into this, but truly, who knows? LEGO Batman has the new lunge feature, where you can jump in the air and click the attack button, where if there's an enemy or another character nearby, you'll lunge towards them and punch them. Yes, this was technically introduced in LEGO Star Wars, but only worked on characters with lightsabers, along with slightly being featured in LEGO Indiana Jones, with him being able to do that with his whip, and that's it. So this is different as a number of characters can do it, including your custom character, without the need for a weapon in their hand. You can also do this, and after you punch them, continue to hold down the attack button, you'll go into a block state that makes it so you can block different bullets and oncoming attacks. Yes, this feature was technically introduced in LEGO Star Wars, but it only worked on characters with a lightsaber. There's also the new headlock system. When hitting B or circle, if there's an enemy next to you, it'll grab them and put them in a headlock. Hitting attack will send them flying, killing them, and giving you a little bit of studs. This also plays into the new attack combo system. The more enemies you attack in a row, the more your stud multiplier goes up, which goes up to 10, meaning a blue stud that's worth 1,000 studs would now give you 10,000 studs. Character abilities. Certain characters have certain abilities, for example, the Joker and his little electrical buzzers, or orange handles that can only be pulled by strong characters such as Clayface, Bane, or Mr. Freeze, or the certain character doors that can be opened by the Riddler, Poison Ivy, or Mad Hatter. These are modified and reused from LEGO Indiana Jones. Finally, vehicles. This game has the infamous vehicle segments that the older LEGO games had. Compared to LEGO Star Wars The Complete Saga, this is definitely an upgrade and way better than it was before. God, I still have nightmares about Gunship Cavalry. This system was later improved on in LEGO Star Wars 3, The Clone Wars, one of the coolest LEGO games ever made. Now the big question. How do you meet the victory condition of this game? Most of the time, that's done by completing levels. All levels include destructibles, which you need to break in order to find pieces for buildables, different suits needed for different parts of the environment, different character abilities, and many more. In this game specifically, every level has some sort of boss, or some sort of objective you need to complete. Once that final objective is met, the level completes. If in story mode, it'll play a cutscene, then right after the awesome mission complete screen. And that's the main victory condition of this game. Next up, dynamics. Like all LEGO games, LEGO Batman has an extensive list of dynamics that include collectibles. I talked about studs earlier in True Hero / True Villain, along with red bricks or extras, which pretty much give you power-ups. These can be found throughout levels and most of the time require you to be in free play using other characters to access them. Next up is mini-kits. There are 10 mini-kits per level. Collecting all of these builds a mini-kit model of a vehicle or a character or something from that level. Another core mechanic is breakables. These are everywhere all across the game. Either shooting, attacking, or exploding in some way will break these objects. Depending on the circumstance, they can either drop studs, which is in-game currency I talked about earlier, or drop bricks that you can build with. And if you break enough stuff and get all the bricks that are supposed to be there, you can build a buildable, which most of the time is used for level progression. Next up is the suit dynamic. It should have been mentioned earlier, but suits are technically also a mechanic of LEGO Batman, as they were first introduced here. But the reason why they're a dynamic is because they're used to complete levels. One simple example could be Batman with his demolition suit. The ability of the demolition suit is that it drops bombs. The intended function is to blow up silver LEGO objects, as they can only be blown up by explosives. So when placing down a bomb and exploding it, it breaks silver Lego objects, as possibly, for example, it could be in the way of something that the player needs to get in front of to progress. That's the dynamic with suits. I earlier already talked about the new movement systems, and kind of already included the dynamics and how those are used to traverse and complete levels. Same thing for breakables, buildables, and stub-based objectives. Same could also be said for combat, but here's the main question of dynamics. How do I strategize a victory? I do this in many ways. First, with the stud dynamics, I make sure to break pretty much every breakable I possibly can to get as much studs as I can so I can get true hero or villain. This also helps with the currency dynamic, meaning I have more money to buy extras and characters with. Another strategy I follow is trying to get as many mini kits in story mode I possibly can, so I don't have to go back and get as many later. Another would be with combat. I try to attack enemies that are coming from all different directions. This is so they can't crowd behind me and deal damage. Another thing I'll do is if I'm in a tight spot, I'll do an air lunge block, which deflects bullets and most damage. Another thing I like to do is if I'm low on health or studs, I'll headlock a few enemies and get hearts and or studs from them. And in boss fights, I try to hit as fast as I can and do as much damage as possible before the loop starts over again. Those are just a few ways of strategizing a victory by my means. And last, aesthetics. Lego Batman out of every Lego game has a very unique aesthetic that I would honestly say is unmatched. Obviously taking inspiration and creative cues from the Batman animated series of the 90s and the Tim Burton Batman movies, along with literally its soundtrack. But this game has a very dark and somewhat creepy atmosphere compared to every other Lego game. Even in Lego Batman 2, where you can fully explore Gotham City, and Lego DC Supervillains where you can do the same, that eerie vibe and tone you get is just unmatched. This aesthetic isn't just applied by the game's models, maps, lighting, and textures, but by its sound design, such as in certain levels hearing the wind blow and the police sirens of a never-ending cop chase. Where almost all the streets of Gotham City, except for a few levels, there are no citizens around at all. And in some levels, especially in abandoned areas, you can tell it hasn't been like that in a very long time, and honestly, it's kind of unsettling. One of the best examples of this is the creepy sounds and music that plays in the Amusement Mile levels. Along with the set pieces and the maps themselves, it really is creepy, honestly, for a Lego game. And it was done intentionally. Here are two easy ways this can be proven. Number one, in Arkham Asylum. The song, Waltz to the Death, from the original Batman '89 soundtrack, loops in this place, but is a completely modified rendition and is not the original one, which is in other levels, by the way. For example, in Amusement Mile, you can hear the normal version, but in this version, they added maniacal laughing, almost the sounds of crying children, and screaming. If that doesn't capture Arkham Asylum, I don't know what does. But God, is that tune ingrained in my brain. I remember as a child trying to imagine who is making those noises and why, and it just scared me. But honestly, it's awesome. And finally, number two, the chalk outline. The chalk outline can be found on the floor of the parking garage in the level the Riddler makes a withdrawal. Because in most cases in Lego games, when a character dies, they break into pieces and they just despawn. But not here. This implies that Lego characters fully can die, and in this case very recently, as chalk outlines are made when murders happen, and if I'm correct, are used to show where the body was when found. The detail of that and the music paired with it, or if you turn the music off and just listen to the ambience, that's a very creepy and unsettling feeling. Not to mention that the whole chalk outline thing itself is morbid, especially for a Lego game. But stuff like this adds to the aesthetic and the game's atmosphere, and that's what makes Lego Batman the video game Lego Batman the video game, and that's why it's awesome. That darker tone can also be seen in many other maps and areas in this game. The feeling of loneliness and bareness, the feeling that something creepy is gonna pop out, even though it never really does, it's there. And in a Lego game, that's impressive, and it has since yet to be done again. Now, the main question for aesthetics. What emotions does playing this game give me, and why? The first one would be nostalgia, as this is a childhood classic of mine and something I hold very dear to my heart, especially since my grandmother gave me it. Something that plays into that nostalgia would be excitement and thrill. This game always has me excited for what's going to happen next. Even though I already know, as I've played this game countless times, I still get full of excitement and anticipation for what's going to happen next. Another would be the feeling of being Batman. Yes, this doesn't have the level of immersion of the Batman Arkham games, but in its own way, you feel like Batman. You feel like you're the only one who can stop these crazy criminals. You and the rest of the Bat family. Another would be laughter, and that's because this game has the classic Lego slapstick comedy. A big thing that plays into that is the characters can't talk, they only mumble and groan, meaning the characters have to rely on physical emotion and attributes in order to get their point across, which heavily plays into slapstick comedy, meaning all the comedy is physical and is happening right in front of you. They're not telling silly jokes, they're doing silly jokes, and it's honestly still hilarious. And that's another reason why those old LEGO games are still so lovable. And one of the last ones being happiness. Not just the nostalgia and the excitement and the adrenaline from all the combat and all the fun building because it's LEGO, but the game generally just makes me happy. And honestly, when I'm down and really not alright, I'll go and I'll play LEGO Batman by myself. Because in all honesty, LEGO Batman's not going anywhere. It also takes me back to those first time nostalgic memories when I was a little kid, playing those levels for the first time. And to me, they'll never get old. And that's the feelings I get from LEGO Batman. In conclusion, LEGO Batman is a masterpiece, especially being Traveler's Tales' first shot at its own story for a LEGO game, as they based this literally off nothing. And I'll say, they knocked it right out of the park. Not just spawning 2 sequels and a spin-off, but it also revolutionized a lot in the LEGO game genre and in the LEGO game mechanics. That on its own proves why it's a masterpiece. But if you take all that and couple it with the classic LEGO Batman designs, the amazing godlike soundtrack, the awesome level design, simple but enjoyable combat, along with its simple and sometimes clever puzzles, and last but not least, the classic LEGO game mechanics and charm, is how you make childhood memories for many people all around the world that they'll never forget for the rest of their lives. And that is the perfection of LEGO Batman. Thank you.